Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Admiral de Silva.
It's working? Okay. And I'm glad to return to this beautiful country and this amazing city, Prague. I'd like to thank the organizers of GLOBSEC for the invitation and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation for making my participation in this event possible. I understand that many people in Europe think that Brazil is geographically very far from Europe. But we are historically linked to Europe through the oceans. It's interesting to highlight, for instance, as an example, that recent research in the DNA of the Brazilian people, the Brazilian population, showed that Brazil is probably the country with the greatest genetic diversity in the world. But amazing that around 60% of the Brazilian population has European heritage. And even more, we are linked to Europe by important values as democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. At this 50 minutes, I'm going to defend the growing importance of the ocean, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how Brazil sees the ocean and this concept of Blue Amazon. The 21st century presents three main trends related to the oceans. The first is the immense importance of the oceans politically, geopolitically, economic, and environmental, and military and defense. The second trend is the challenge and tensions, increasing tensions from the demarcation of the state's maritime borders according to the law of the sea. And the third trend is the increase in tensions in the oceans caused by the competition between the United States and China that was formally declared in the US National Strategy in 2017 in the first Trump administration. So we see that great powers collaborate to sustain a globalized maritime system, but at the same time, they compete with others, bring tensions to the oceans. This dynamic reaffirms the assertion of that the oceans are always historically a domain of cooperation and conflict. And what is the importance of the oceans for humanity? Covering almost 3/4 of our planet, they play a crucial role in mitigating the impact of global warming and providing vital resources such as minerals, energy, and protein for over 3 billion individuals worldwide. Also, as highlighted by the United Nations, maritime transport is the backbone of international trade and the global economy. Over 80% of the volume of international trade in goods is carried by sea. 8%. 80%. But more important, that sometimes we don't pay attention. If maritime transport constitutes the backbone of global trade, then the submarine cables represents the backbone of international global data and voice communications. Employing fiber optic technology, these cables care much more, I think that's, they carry much more information than satellites, accounting for, imagine, 99% of international trade and communication is using submarine cables. We use our cell phones, but we don't have the idea that the message that we are sending is by submarine cables. So the importance of the oceans makes that the states try to increase its sea power. And what we can define it? Sea power is the ability of the state's ability to use the sea and influence the range of political, environmental, scientific and technological, security and defense activities related to the oceans. A state's sea power includes what's known as a blue economy, which is deeply linked with the advancement in science and technology. The economic dimension, or the importance, the economic dimension of maritime space bears significant implication for security and defense. All states need to protect their interests at sea, locally or regionally. And for those states that aspire to be great powers, is indispensable the capacity to develop global military operations to project influence globally, as we see now with this hegemonic dispute between United States and China. And what about Brazil? I see that the slides, the first slide is still projected. Brazil is a continental country with an immense land area. Brazil is the fifth largest country in the world. So, since the colonial times, Brazilian national identity was shaped by the need to occupy and integrate this continental part of the country. And the sea, the importance of the sea, was forgotten. Thus, in 2004, the commander of the Brazilian Navy wrote an article in a prestigious newspaper. The title was Blue Amazon. Blue Amazon, because everybody knows the Amazon. Even Jeff Bezos took the name to call his company that Amazon. So, but the idea was in this article was to say, okay, Brazilians, we are a continental, we have a continental territory with all these things, but we have another part of the country. Let me see here. Is it this way? No. Okay. Next. No. No. Here. Okay. But we have this immense and blue Amazon. You can see this, the blue area. This is 5.7 millions of kilometers, square kilometers. And this, all this area is that Brazil has due to the law of the sea, is economic zone, and all the area, it's the blue Amazon. The title, Blue Amazon, draws a deliberate parallel to the Green Amazon, underscoring the maritime region's rich biodiversity, abundant natural resource, and the critical role for the Brazilian economy to convince the Brazilian population of the importance of the sea. You see some data. 90% of Brazil's foreign trade is carried out by sea. 97 oil gas produced offshore. The company is producing oil at 7,000 meters depth. So, to say to the population, the Brazilian population, and see how next one. Oh, okay. The Brazilian population, 212 million people. That the importance, and here in the small table we can see the quantities in millions of descendants coming from the other regions, especially from Europe. We have 60 million Portuguese descendants, 35 Italian, 15 Spanish, 5,000 Germans, 500,000 Czechs, 1 point, and so we are very multicultural and multiracial country. By invoking this analogy between the Green Amazon and the Blue Amazon, the Brazilian Navy intended to promote public awareness and national pride in Brazil's immense oceanic wealth, emphasize the importance of the economic development, environmental conservation, and national security. In addition to the Blue Amazon, Brazil's national defense policy considers the South Atlantic, that is all the area that goes to Africa, considers the South Atlantic as a priority area for Brazil, We have excellent relations with two brother countries, Argentina and Uruguay, with whom we share interests in the South Atlantic, including the South Atlantic Peace and Cooperation Zone that was established in 1986 in the United Nations with the aim of promoting regional cooperation and maintaining peace and security around the 24 of South Americans and West Coast of Africa countries that joined the mechanism. So for us, we don't want that this competition, the militarization that we see in several regions of the world. We have this free of nuclear weapons area. We don't like to see this competition, these tensions arising in our area. In conclusion, the oceans are becoming increasingly important on the international stage, both as an environment for cooperation and a source of tensions and conflict. At this time of so much tensions and war, one of Brazil's main objectives is to contribute to ensure that the South Atlantic remains a zone of peace and cooperation in accordance with our Constitution, which has at its fundamental principles the peaceful resolution of disputes and cooperation between peoples for the progress of humanity. Thank you very much.
Admiral Silva, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wrap from the Schwarzenberg stage. This is it. We have gone from Arctic security to the Blue Amazon and back again. We have covered Ukrainian reconstruction, radicalization of politics, and so on. To me, the Schwarzenberg room has been the best room, mainly because you're allowed to have a quick nap in here. I see that this was a Czech joke. Those who knows it, knows it. Anyway, no time for napping now, because we have still two things going on at the Havel stage, where we're going to go now. First of all, maybe the most pertinent panel still left, about the Middle East peace puzzle. Maybe we should call it a war puzzle now. And then finally, a chat with the Czech Interior Minister, Vít Rakušan, about resilience, which is an area where the Czech Republic is basically world champions. So, guys, over to the Havel stage. Thank you very much.